Good morning, gentlemen. I'm going to discuss another very important topic today, something that concerns all of us, and that is the recruitment to the Indian Army. You must have read there's a lot of news in the papers. The defense minister and the three army chiefs, armed forces chiefs, they held a press conference where they announced that the new system of recruitment has commenced in the armed forces. What is that? The name given is Agnipath. Well, you can give it any name, but this is a system, I will admit, is being followed in most countries in the world, but you can't have a comparison. India is a different country altogether. What we have done now in India is that the government has decided that young men from the age of 17 and a half to 21 who have passed the 10th standard, 10th class, will be enrolled as soldiers in the various corps of the army. They will serve for 4 years, and after that it will be goodbye. You go. You won't get any pension. You will get a gratuity amount, which will come to a certain amount of money, maybe about 10 or 11 lakhs, and then you are on your own. They have added some swaps that you will be given a 12th class pass certificate. And the idea behind it looks good on the face of it, on paper. What is that idea? That the army remains young. One. Number two, the pension bill, which is almost 30 to 40% of the defense budget, will go down. Basically, it's economics, because India does not want to spend heavily on the armed forces. And when you have a large army, say 1.2 million people, and an air force of say 35-40 squadrons, warships including aircraft carrier, you got to have manpower, one, and then you will have to pay that manpower, and once that manpower retires, you will have to pay them a pensionary benefit. I mean, that's normal, everywhere's done it. Most of the other countries have very small armies, very small populations, and they are economically advanced. That is, it is a worker-rich country where people can find work. India is a country with a massive population, going to touch almost 1.4 billion. There is no employment comparative to what you can get in America or England or Canada. So it is debatable whether this particular scheme is applicable to Indians or no. The first reactions from the young men is pretty horrendous. When this scheme, recruitment, started recently in Bihar, you must have been reading that there have been a lot of riots all around. The young men have been infuriated. They have been waiting for recruitment to join the army, and now they are told, well, you can just serve for 4 years, you will be given some XYZ amount, go back home and then look for yourself. That is what practically it amounts to. Though the government is saying they'll get this, but they'll have only a 12th class degree. A man, let's say, joining at the age of 20, serving 4 years and coming out at the age of 24 or 25, with a 12th class pass degree, what job do you expect him to get compared to people who have studied the education and done maybe their MBA or something like that? Can he get any job? Maybe he could get a job as a chaprasi, as a guard or something. That's about all. So we should not rationalize it. A spokesman recently of the ruling government said, and he raised a question, tell me in which 6 countries in the world this system is not followed. I mean, less said about this man, the better. With which countries is he comparing? America? France, Russia. Which country is comparing? China? Look at the economies of those countries and look at the economy of India. The per capita income of all these nations is at least 5 to 20 times more than India. Even China has an income, I think, a per capita income of almost 6 times, an economy of 15 trillion. And it is a labor intensive country. America is a labor intensive country. They need labor. They need workers. So people serve in the army, they come out, they get absorbed. It doesn't not going to happen in India. And that is the reason the young men in Bihar and other places in the country are disillusioned. First of all, there was no recruitment for the last 2 years to the army, and people were anxiously waiting because this is a job. In India, getting a job is a big problem because only the government job guarantees you a pension. You join a private firm, you get nothing. I had a friend who was a vice president of a very big construction company. He had to resign and go, and he couldn't get a damn job after that. He retired and he was hand to mouth, dependent on what his daughter sent him from America. So point which I am making is, the government jobs in India give security, and there are a large number of people who would like to join the army. To expect that people are patriotic, they'll come serve in the army and then say bye-bye because we love the Indian nation. I mean, let's accept the fact. These things are absurd. I have to use this word. And there is no comparison, let's be very clear, with America or France or England or Canada or Australia. There is no comparison. Those countries have a very high per capita income. They have an industrial base. They can absorb all the people, where here we can't do that. There is even now unemployment in India. Millions are unemployed. And you are going to add to that unemployment force. But there is another danger. You see, this is going to be an organized force who will come in the market. And they have no jobs if you are not able to absorb them, which the Indian nation cannot. Nobody can convince me on that point. It can lead to anything. Disillusionment. And even professionalism in the army suffers. If you are joining as a medical assistant, like for example, it will take you 3 to 4 years to get to know the job, and that is the time you will be asked to go, okay, well, bye-bye, go home. Gunners, their latest sophisticated guns, radar-controlled guns, who's going to control them? I mean, it's so simple. It's not that somebody comes for 4 years and then suddenly you tell him, okay, bye-bye, you've done it. So we are reaching a situation which is very, very dire. Though the government is telling that about 25% of this lot will be absorbed as permanent cadre, that is not enough. This year they are going to recruit 56,000 soldiers for the army. And what is going to happen to the minus the 25%, the 13,000 which might go, the 42,000, what is going to happen to them? Where will they go? After 4 years, they'll have a degree of a 12th class pass certificate and a bit of money, which is not going to last them any length of time at that stage. We are now in a very, very precarious situation. I don't know whether this Agnipath scheme was the brainchild of General Rawat. It speaks volumes that he went about making these schemes. He was even talking of theatre commands, where he went and said that the Air Force is just one of the arms. It's not so. If you read the theories of Goliath the Hoot, air power is one and indivisible, and it is the decisive factor in a war. It's not one of the arms like the artillery or the thing, but General Rawat was of that opinion. So we must understand what exactly is happening all around. I think for India, the Agnipath scheme should not have been followed. And the term of 4 years is too less. The minimum term should have been 10 years and a modicum of pension. You expect a man to serve the country for say 4 years and then go away home without anything much. When he leaves, he would be say 23 or 24, 25, he's going to live up to the age of 75. What's he going to do for the next 50 years? The few lakhs of rupees which is given by the government, you think going to last him from that time? What's he going to do? He has to start life afresh. And the young men in India have realized this, and that is why there is this unrest. Now, it's a very terrible situation. For 2 years there was no recruitment, and millions who were waiting to join the army are now overage. What's going to happen to them? Everything is not related to budget. Sometimes a nation has to pay for its security. You can't neglect the armed forces by just trying to cut down the finances. Let that be very clear. Nehru did the blunder when he gave no importance to the army. Thankfully, he didn't have this harebrained scheme, whoever had it. I don't know who's the credit for this Agnipath scheme. And again I will repeat, there is no comparison with the American army or the Russian army, which are state controlled, which are labor intensive. Their population is very less. Their per capita income is 20, 30 times more America than India. There is food to eat. We don't have food to eat. We got 51% of our women who are anemic. Almost 35% of our children are having lack of protein, stunted growth. And these are the figures of the government of India. I am not giving my figures. And to that nation, you want to create another workforce of thousands of persons retiring, leaving the army and having no benefits. They won't be given any benefits at all, like the canteen facilities or something like that, nothing. You just get a 12th class certificate and you go, and the 4 years you have wasted is actually a waste for an individual. I don't know how the chiefs have reacted to it. But then, if you look at history, the chiefs have never reacted anywhere, you see. When the CNC's post was abolished, the chiefs were silent. Chiefs never wrote any papers to Nehru or anybody. We must understand what Field Marshal Cariappa said and go by what he meant. Such actions like having the Agnipath could lead to vociferous tendencies in the country. It's a very sad situation. On the face of it, I'll say it looks pretty good, but it is not good for India. The people, the soldier who will join, first of all, I think 4 years in the modern tech age is too less a time. We must understand what Field Marshal Cariappa said and go by what he meant. Such actions like having the Agnipath could lead to vociferous tendencies in the country. It's a very sad situation. On the face of it, I'll say it looks pretty good, but it is not good for India. The people, the soldier who will join, first of all, I think 4 years in the modern tech age is too less a time. And another question which I must ask, and which has been raised by many, you have made this applicable to the men. Why wasn't this made applicable to the officers? Why don't you get the officers also for 4 years? keep them and go away. And that's a sure shot recipe that India will get defeated in the next war. A trained soldier takes years to become a perfectionist. And you're going to send him out after 4 years, and 4 years the entire tenure. That includes training, his leave. He'll be entitled to 60 days leave, 90 days leave in a year. So how much time he's going to have? He's going to have a training, 90 days leave in a year would make him almost a year's leave. He has a year's leave. So 4 years minus 1 is 3 years. You're left with just 3 years, and that you have to train him also. This is very, very sad, and whoever's thought about it has done a great disservice to a very fine fighting machine in the Indian Army. I hope there will be a rethink on it. I don't think people are going to like this particular scheme, the young men. I've raised some questions on this. I hope things will change, the scheme will be modified. I can understand that you have about say 10 or 15% of people in the army for this. If you're going to recruit 56,000, maybe 5 to 6,000 you could have in this particular scheme, but you won't find anybody coming at all. It's a very, very sad situation for the country's armed forces. I don't think this scheme is viable as far as India is concerned. Our economics, our social structure is different. India is not a labor-intensive country. No jobs are available. I've already given you the economic situation. In such a situation, the entire thing will be compounded, and God forbid anything can happen. I think the best course of action would be to shelve the scheme. Let there be some more study on it. I am not a Congress spokesperson or support what Rahul Gandhi has said, but everything is not to be taken in black and white. There are shades of grey. Let this scheme be studied more before it's implemented, and let us not disillusion the young men of India. I close now, gentlemen. I hope you will like this video, share it. I'm an ex-soldier myself, and I've given you my frank opinion. I close now, gentlemen. Jai Hind. If you like my video, share it, like it, and subscribe. Thank you.